politics, faith, family and freedom in Cuba, Belgium, Brazil, Congo, UK and all over the USA to crowds from 14 to 40,000. International leadership speaker, trainer and coach. Author of Learn to Raw Leadership, Attitude Hack, Live a More Excellent Life, 5 Battle Strategies of a Victorious Warrior. 2021 President's Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. Founding partner of the John Maxwell team. Toastmaster International Speech Competition semi-finalist. Founder of Tell It Like It Is TV, ThatGuyRocks.com and ThatGuySpeaks.com. Creator of Story Power TV, Transforming Grace TV, and Leading Leaders Podcast. Producer of 4 TV programs and podcasts for Liftable TV and World Trumpet Television as well as multiple social media channels. Please help me welcome J Loren Norris.
You know, a lot of leaders go about the business of building their leadership empire in the same manner, in fact, using some of the same techniques, the same tools as the young girl who wants to be a professional makeup artist. And so she sits down in front of a camera and makes YouTube videos about putting on makeup and mascara. See, there are a lot of leadership folks who they really don't want the friction, if you will, of leading with ideas that may challenge the way others think. They want the popularity contest. They want to win the masses. They want everybody in the world to follow them so they can say they have 2 million, 200 million, 200,000, 200 billion followers, whatever that number may be. And because they believe that their mass amount of influence is genuine influence, they feel like they have a win if they have more followers. There's a risk in that, in gathering the masses to follow, and I want to talk about that today on Leading Leaders.
Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.
I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast, and if you hadn't noticed, I don't often tell people, click like and subscribe on this video. I'm not obsessed with that. My obsession, if I have one for this podcast, is to be consistent in the delivery of the podcast, to be consistent in encouraging leaders to look a little deeper into the way that they conduct themselves and relate to other people. I want to challenge people, whether they've been leading for decades or only days, to think a little more deeply, a little more intently, a little more intentionally about the everyday aspect of leadership. It's easy when you're as brilliant as a John Maxwell or a Pat Lencioni or someone of that nature to get kind of bogged down in the really deep details of leadership, to be high and lifted up in your loftiness of education and mindfulness of who you are. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in those details and feel like, well, if I sold 1 million copies of the last book, then I must have nailed it. Well, you might have, or you might just have nailed the marketing funnel that it was required to get that many books sold. Here's the real question, though, as a leader. And I'm not questioning either of those two names that I just mentioned. I know they both have significant influence and significant impact. That's not true of everybody who's sold a whole lot of books, though. See, the real question is, have you, for the sake of the best-selling book, for the sake of having that little moniker on the front cover of your book, best-selling author, have you forsaken, if you will, the depth of the reality of your leadership? Have you sought after the appeal of the masses? Have you appealed to large numbers of people with little regard for the actual transformation brought about in their life, with little regard for the realistic impact that you can have on their way of thinking and their way of doing business, their way of relating to others, the way of making decisions? See, for a lot of leaders, the challenge becomes secondary to bring about transformation. No, the real ambition is getting a whole lot of people to agree that what I said was funny or cute or artistic or original. If I can get 1,000 people to comment or like or share a post, then I must be popular. I must be appealing to the masses. Let me also just say this. If you hadn't noticed, sometimes with the help of the tech geniuses and the tech giants, for lack of a better term, manipulation of the algorithms, there are those who, I heard someone today bemoaning the fact that in the last 90 days, their followership has dropped, you ready for this? By 500 million. They've lost 500 million. That's between two of them. But between the two of them, they've lost 500 million people that they used to influence. Is it lasting influence? Is it lasting transformation in those people's lives? Have those 500 million moved on to something else? Or was it just an algorithm change? Was it just something you said that you shouldn't have said? We don't know. Here's what we do know, though. The masses are filled with people, and people are fickle. They could be your friends today and not your friends tomorrow, and it might be because of the color of Jell-O you brought to the holiday party. It might be because of the signature on your email. It might be because of the way you park your car or the kind of car that you drive if it runs on that nasty old petrol as opposed to being battery operated. See, the scary part of building your leadership empire, your leadership influence around appealing to the masses. The most frightening aspect of that is knowing that the masses are fickle, because the masses are people. If instead you spend your time and your effort and your investments building your empire of leadership, or your influence of leadership, or your impact of influence, your impact of leadership around principles that you can be consistent with, something you can stick to every time, where every decision that you make, every action that you take, every relationship that you build, every client that you serve, there's consistency. And the consistency isn't because it's going to make me $1 million. That's not what I'm seeking after. It's not because it's going to grant me a new 1 million followers, because that's not what I'm seeking after. But it is going to bring about genuine, lasting transformation in the lives of the people that I engage with, my clients, my customers, the people that I serve. When those principles drive you to make the decisions you make as a leader, then you're going to see some lasting transformation and change. When those are not the things that drive you, then you're often going to find yourself in a place where every decision is based on the algorithm. Every decision is based on how will the masses receive this. Every decision is based on whether this is going to get me more clicks, likes, and subscribes or not. I think we found ourselves in a bit of a pickle as an American population and as a global population of those who are or would be leaders of the next generation. I think many people in the world of leadership have succumbed to the idea that better to have 1 million followers in case you lose 100,000 than to have 10 or 12 that you can make a deep and lasting impact in their life, that you can see the transformation that you help to bring about in their life impact the life of 10 or 12 others, who each will individually impact the life of 10 or 12 others. There was a guy one time who was teaching and providing what the crowd wanted, what the crowd needed. He brought them lunch. They came for free to a large event, and he fed them all. I don't know how many of you have ever done that. I've had live events where we provided lunch. And we've even had large events where we provided lunch and even the admission was free. They only paid $6 for the lunch. And at the end of the day, those who return, they come back for lunch. They weren't looking for the transformation. They were looking for the free lunch. So it was with this guy. 5,000 plus of them gathered. He fed them all. He did his little seminar. They got their food. They went on their way. He comes back to town, and as soon as he comes back to town, there they are again, only now the crowd is larger. And guess what they're there for? Yep. another free lunch. He told him some hard things. He said, hey, listen, if you're not going to do these 2 or 3 things, you don't really want to follow me anyway. And I'm kind of done with the free lunch thing. I say it like this. Every leader, every coach has a gauntlet. That gauntlet is the thing that you throw down in front of a would-be client. The client that's pursuing you is usually one that you got to keep an eye out for because they've got a motive, just like you do. Your motive is to grow your business and grow your influence and impact. Their motive is to build notoriety, be in the right circles, access your brain. I love the way Michael Hyatt used to say it. He said, I have a page on my website called Pick My Brain. Because people always say, hey, can I buy you lunch, take you to coffee? I just want to pick your brain. And what I realized was what they really want is the advice that I charge others for, but they want to get it for a cup of coffee price. And so I took all the questions that people would ask me when they, quote, pick my brain, and I put them all on one website, on one page. And some people would call that page a frequently asked questions page. I just call it Pick My Brain. And you are welcome to search through there for every random question that I've been asked over the last decade, that I've been asked a dozen times or more. I put them on there and I put the answer to them. And that way you don't have to buy me a cup of coffee. You have access to those answers for free. Amazing how quickly that filtered out the people who didn't ever have the intent of becoming a customer. They just wanted to take up time and get the advice that they needed in the moment. It's hard to appeal to the masses. Now that Pick My Brain / frequently asked questions page, that might be a gauntlet. The first gauntlet that was thrown at me by a coach, I'll never forget it because he said to me, I want you to go home and write a 3-page handwritten letter that explains to me why I should coach you. His name was Brian Dodge. And I went home and I thought to myself, that's about the dumbest thing I've ever heard. In the days of email and text messages and phone calls, we could have this conversation in a matter of minutes if you just give me a minute to tell you why I think I would be a good candidate for your coaching, why I think you'd be a good coach for what I need. Guess how long it took me to write that letter? Yeah, I still haven't. But I learned a lesson from it. I learned that sometimes you've got to put up a barrier as a leader, as a coach, for the people who have access to you, because sometimes the masses, they want access to you so they can influence you, because they see the influence you have over others. Sometimes the masses, they want to use your relationships as a stepladder. Oh, they will pay to get into your inner circle. They'll pay whatever the price is to get in your inner circle, not because they see any value in you, but because they see who's in your inner circle. And that's who they want access to. Appealing to the masses is a double-edged sword. Obviously, it means you've got a larger pool of clients to pull from. You've got a larger group of people you could influence, a larger chance to build revenue and cash flow. And all of those things are good if you're in business. They're all necessary. But just remember the old idea of marketing that says the riches are in the niches. The niches meaning the more you push down, the more you get concise on who you serve and how and why, the more impact you can have in their life, the greater results you're going to see. The greater results you're going to see, the greater results your clients are going to see, and the greater results they're going to see will lead to them referring you to more people like them. Now remember that too is a double-edged sword. If you have a client who's grumpy and always worried about how much they're spending and always worried about whether or not they're getting the return on their investment, but they're not willing to do the work, guess who they're going to refer? People just like that. That's what they do. But if you're appealing to the masses, you're going to have to sort through a whole lot more of those kind of people than if you're dealing with those that you've already seen great transformation in and great return on their investment for their results. If that's where you're focused, if that's where you're leading, you're going to see a greater impact and a greater result from that. As a leader in an organization, if you're on salary and not building your own business, you still have the same conundrum, and that is, how do I get the greatest level of transformation and impact for the people that I serve? That may be your bosses above you, it may be your peers around you, and it may be the people that answer to you, so to speak. You serve all of them. If you serve them well, then you serve them with the intentionality of saying, What is the problem that you need solved, and how can I help you to solve it? Whether it's to raise your level of awareness, or educate you on something you don't know, or walk through this season with you. A good leader is willing to do all of those things. You can do none of them if you're appealing to the masses. If you're trying to please everyone, in the end you please no one. If you're trying to serve everyone, in the end you'll serve no one. Appealing to the masses is a double-edged sword, because just like friendships, the masses are fickle. If you want to be an effective leader, figure out who it is that most greatly needs your help, and what help you can most effectively offer them. Then you have a better chance of serving and helping and leaving a long-lasting impact of transformational influence in their life. Pursuing the masses just for the sake of the numbers might look good on a bestsellers list, might look good on your social media accounts, and it might even look good in your advertising dollars. But remember, the 14-year-old girl putting her mascara on for the first time, she may get more views than your leadership video. Which one do you think has a better chance of transforming somebody's life? It's not about the masses. It's not about the counts. It's not about the clicks, the likes, or the subscribes. It's about the impact you have in somebody's life so they can have an impact in somebody else's. Take the time as a leader to be a little more intentional about how you impact people's lives and on what level, and not just the sheer volume. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.